Hello, this is David from DN Cognitive Counseling, and I'd like to discuss The Last Dance, the story of the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, and specifically, it focuses on Michael Jordan. Now, this video is not going to be who's the greatest player of all time. I know that there are a million people discussing that right now. But this video is, what can we learn and how could it be helpful for us to watch something like that? And is there a message that we can take to better our lives as people? Tonight, I'd like to actually talk about what that is and what I think could be an incredibly helpful and powerful message. There's the old myth that Michael Jordan was kicked off his basketball team when he was in high school. And this myth goes on that because he was kicked off his team, it gave him the fuel and energy to be able to push himself to great lengths. I'm going to quote from, this was from Sports Illustrated. In those days, it was rare for sophomores to make varsity. Herring made one exception in 1978, one designed to remedy his team's height disadvantage. This in part of the reason Michael Jordan went home and cried in his room after reading the two lists. It wasn't just that his name was missing from the varsity roster. It was also that he scanned the list and he saw the name of another sophomore, one of his close friends, the 6'7" Leroy Smith. Over the next decade, Jordan would become a world-class collector of emotional wounds, a champagne grudge holder, a magician at converting real and imagined insults into the rocket fuel that made him fly. If he had truly been cut that year, as he would claim again and again, he wouldn't have had such an immediate chance for revenge. But in fact, his name was second on the list, the JV roster, with the names of many of his fellow sophomores. Jordan quickly became a JV superstar. Now, why is this important, and why would I be discussing this on a channel designed to talk about mental health issues and psychology and recovery and all the things that we want to do? In our lives, every single one of us has to face adversity. Every single one of us are going to have problems and issues, things that go against us. For the most of us, what we do is when we have those problems and issues, we lament. We create reasons why. We find excuses why we don't need to push further, or we do the poor, poor me. Michael Jordan, again, if not the greatest of all time, one of the greatest of all time, used that adversity as rocket fuel. Tracy McGrady was on ESPN talking about what he learned from the documentary. And he said he was surprised at the lengths Jordan went to create full stories about people to motivate himself. Because when you're going through a season and it's game after game, it's very easy to say, okay, I'll be able to take back and step back a little bit. You know, we're ahead right now. Jordan never did that. Another player, and I forgot who, was talking about Jordan that all his games, if you ask the score, it's 0-0. Every game. What's the score? 0-0. And there was a thing to try to punk the rookies about this idea. Why do you think he did that? If they're up by 15, why would the score be 0-0? Because Jordan wanted that every moment he was on the floor, everything he did, he wanted to be at his best. Do we all have that drive? Do we do that every single day with the things that we try to accomplish? Push ourselves to the limit, to the max? Because that's what it takes to become great at anything. Whether it be in your business, whether it be a parent, whether it be in a school, be it any endeavor you try to be the great or the greatest at something, you need to put in that type of effort. Another one of my favorite stories, which they made the movie about, Rudy, was all about somebody who was not born with the gifts of a Michael Jordan. Somebody that was not having the best athletic ability. He was undersized, didn't really belong in football at all, but had the heart and the drive to push himself. And that led to people being inspired by his story because of his effort. I know that today people have big discussions about participation trophies and whether they're good or they're bad. And I find that, in my opinion, they're absolutely horrific. What they should give out is effort trophies, especially to kids. Kids not necessarily that are the best on the team, but that try their hardest. Because those kids, when they try harder, will develop better. And the more you push yourself at something, the better you will get at it. This is where training comes in. You may not have the best physical gifts. You might not have the best skills. But anything you want to get better at, you can get better at. I don't play tennis. Never play tennis. And if I tried to play tennis right now, I would look absolutely ridiculous, no question about it. But if I trained every single day for 4 years, I don't know what type of tennis player I'd become, but it'd be much better than I am now. Some people say, I can't do math. Math is difficult. I'm not that good in science. And what happens is they emotionally give up on themselves. And they don't push. They don't look to make themselves better. They accept the fact that they're not so good at something. And what happens is that acceptance, they never reach what their potential could be. The aspect is you don't even push. You don't try. And because you don't try, you already fail. People do this in their work constantly, where they feel it doesn't make a difference, so why even bother? You never know what you'll be able to achieve if you don't push yourself to your own limits. People generally don't live up to those limits, which is one of the reasons why there's a new syndrome that's created in 1978, I think it was, called Impostor syndrome. The idea that I feel like I don't belong doing this. And this is a recent phenomenon in history. If you go back in history, people didn't believe they were doing things they didn't deserve. But part of the concept is we become so worried about people's feelings that people don't tell people the truth. A lack of truth and understanding leads people to be thinking that, wait a minute, maybe my accomplishments are not even my own. Maybe I don't deserve the accolades that I'm getting because people are just trying to make me feel good. I've had many clients who tell me they can't believe their evaluations because they know there are other people they work with that have gotten great evaluations and doing a horrible job. But because the company wants to keep a morale or feeling good, they don't tell people the truth. And then when they get their own evaluation, they're like, I don't even believe this. Reality-based, getting in our face what's real is incredibly important to understand how we feel about ourselves. And there's no question that Michael Jordan was able to objectively look at what he did and say, wow, yet he doesn't talk about it. Because as soon as you stop back to admire what you're doing, you stop doing that great. 0-0 is the score. I only am going to look at it as 0-0. I'm not going and pushing myself to a position of thinking that I am better. I am going to push myself in order to do my best. And that's what leads to greatness. I think LeBron James is an unbelievable athlete. Destroy so many people on the court. But I think one of the things that he's lacking is that drive. And it's not only him. It's a generational thing that is lacking. And one of the things that we could take from that documentary is that level of passion and drive. Not to say that everything that he did was good in terms of his teammates, but there's no question it had an effect on that and his success. I hope that one of the things that we can learn is to incorporate when we see greatness that it's the effort, not just the natural skills. And almost anything you can get better at if you so desire and you put that effort into. I have watched people in many different situations get much better in physical activities such as martial arts who did not have the physical skills, but they put in the effort. And you put in the effort enough times, you're going to see better and better results. Greatness comes from your effort, not just from your standard abilities. And if there's anything we can learn from that, I would say that should be number one. I hope that you like this video and that you'll hit like. I hope that you'll subscribe if you didn't subscribe already. And I hope that you share this with others. And if you'd like to become a patron to this channel, just hit the link below and we'd be very happy to have you. And I thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night and good mental health.